These 4 tips changed how my partner showed up in our relationship. And the craziest part was I was the only one doing them. So we just need to quickly rewind a minute because years ago in our relationship, we had bickering, arguing, silent treatments. I would dread bringing up hurt feelings because it never went well. I was feeling totally unheard, completely misunderstood. Nothing was making it better, so we ended up breaking up. Getting back together didn't fix things, but these 4 keys, they did. And if you're thinking, this sounds too good to be true, I get it because I didn't believe it was possible either. My partner was still saying no to working on our relationship, so it was the hugest shock to me that he didn't have to. We went from breaking up to thriving, and the 4th key I'm sharing, it sparked the biggest, fastest change in our relationship. These keys that I'm sharing, they are so powerful that they became the foundation of my love journey process, where I help women create massive shifts in their relationship, even when their husband or boyfriend isn't involved. I am Lindsay. This is Loving with Intention. Let's dive right in. These 4 tips, they're actually keys that unlock lasting change in your relationship for real. They complement each other. So if you are missing even one of them, this is often why women stay stuck, even when you're working really hard on your relationship and you feel like you're trying everything. And you can totally wait for your husband or boyfriend to get on board with relationship growth, but that moment literally might never come. So you can also just dive into these 4 tips and create the change that you want to see. So I vote for that, and you're here, so you're amazing. So when this first tip, this first key clicked for me, I literally felt physically ill when I realized this. So we'd been broken up for a while, no contact, anything like that, and then we met up to talk. This was the first step towards getting back together, but more importantly, it was the first time that I actually really heard him. In our relationship, I'd been completely focused on everything he was doing wrong. His unhealthy, hurtful behaviors, the things that I wanted him to change. I either didn't see them or I would just justify them, like, I only get defensive because he was being a jerk. In the long talks that we had, I finally saw all the ways that I'd been contributing to what hadn't been working in our relationship. Being defensive, shutting down, rolling my eyes, shaming him, pointing out what he did wrong. The list truly goes on. And this doesn't mean that he wasn't doing things too. It was just that now I was seeing the whole picture. So the first tip that I wish I knew before we broke up is what I call the commitment keys. And it's all about taking 100% personal responsibility for your side of the street. Not for everything in your relationship, just your side. You don't cause your husband to react the way that he does, and he also doesn't cause your behaviors. So this tip is about focusing on you because although we don't cause another person to do something, we are majorly influencing the dance in our relationships. When you start asking yourself big questions, how am I contributing to what's not working? How can I change and grow? What can I do to help our relationship thrive? You ask yourself those questions regularly, often, daily, all the time. You are focusing then on what you can change because as much as I wanted my partner to change, no amount of complaining to my friends or my therapist or anyone for that matter, it didn't change anything. I used to be so focused on his steps, how he was messing up, how he was doing things wrong. I never looked at my own footwork in the dance. But when I started shifting how I was moving in the relationship, that's when the whole dance changed. Without me telling him to move differently, without him agreeing to work on things, it changed because I was finally focused on the only thing that I could control, which was me. So those are the questions I ask myself, and they've become the foundation of what I teach. Again, how am I contributing to what's not working? How can I change and grow? What can I do to help our relationship thrive? These questions are powerful. And when you start asking them regularly, you start shifting the energy in your relationship, sometimes more than you ever thought was possible. This doesn't mean you just accept his unhealthy behaviors, but it does mean you're seeing your role and you're actively working at it. So I was like, great, I'm looking at my stuff. This is awesome, but why is our relationship not magically improving? Here's what isn't talked about enough. Even when you know your patterns, that doesn't mean they just change. And that was so frustrating. I had done years of therapy already. I'm obsessed with personal growth and therapy. I had insight. I understood why I reacted the ways that I did in a lot of ways, but somehow I still just shut down. I pulled away. I still justified my behavior if he said something bothered him. So clearly, insight isn't enough, especially in relationships where your patterns are just constantly meeting another person's patterns. You're in the dance. So no matter how much you understand your own footwork and how you play a role, Real change happens when you actually move differently. So that's where the second tip comes in that I wish I knew before we broke up. I call this healing and changing patterns. Looking at myself really meant understanding where those patterns came from. Most of us don't realize how deeply our reactions that we have when we're in conflict, like being critical, snapping, going quiet, shutting down, being dismissive, these are tied to things that we learned long before our relationship ever started. So just imagine a kid who grew up in a home where they would make a mistake and their mom would get really mad at them, blame them, shame them, yell, send them to their room. That didn't feel good. So they learned to protect themselves by getting defensive. Maybe they were playing with a ball in the house, they knocked over a glass, it broke. Mom got mad, so they went into protection mode. It only happened because my brother was there, or I didn't mean to do it, or I was just trying to carry the ball to my room and it accidentally knocked it over. If doing this led to their brother getting in trouble or mom not being as mad, they subconsciously learned defensiveness is a good strategy to stay safe, which is the smartest thing in the whole entire world for a little kid to do. These are brilliant strategies because at our core, we long to feel connected and safe with our parents. So, fast forward, this same kid in an adult relationship, when their partner says, I really felt hurt when you made that joke in front of all those people, that old pattern kicks in automatically. Talking automatically. So instead of hearing their partner, they hear, I'm getting in trouble. And they use their old, well-worn strategy to stay safe. They get defensive. This happens without our conscious awareness. Again, super, super smart for a kid to do. It's for protection. It's the best. And as an adult, it creates distance and disconnection. We're not reacting because we're bad or we're mean. We're reacting because we're trying to feel safe, and this is a well-worn pattern. So that's just one example of how the pattern of defensiveness could be formed. There's so many, and we can apply that same logic to critical partner, partner who shuts down, one who goes straight into blaming. And it doesn't mean that something terrible had to happen in your childhood. It may have, and we learn these strategies for a whole lot of reasons. When we can really look at ourselves and our partner and see these are unhealthy strategies we learned for protection as a kid, this can help us soften and bring in compassion and get curious about where it came from so we can actually heal and change it. That is literally where the real change starts. And it isn't just for protection. There's a whole whack of beautiful, valid needs under every unhealthy pattern that we do. We get to get really curious about what those things are. So that's when I started sharing with my partner. I'm working on my defensiveness. I know that I do it. And when I think about it, I recognize that in those moments, deep down, I really want to be seen for my best intentions. I want appreciation. I want to know that you still care about me. But I get defensive and all that goes out the window and none of us feel good. I started using this curious lens for both of us often. I stopped seeing his reactions as attacks and started seeing them as unhealed patterns. Maybe not in the moment, but when I would reflect on it. The truth is, if we are reacting, there's something under there. What needs are we trying to get met in those moments? Again, does not make it okay that we are hurting each other and that we're using unhealthy patterns. Those things still need repair. And that's why tip number 2 is healing and changing patterns. We are growing so that we hurt our partner less. And when you start working on this, even if your partner isn't, you're bringing a new energy into your relationship. You're modeling what it's like to self-reflect. You're changing the dance. So that key was massive for me. Previously, I had no idea that there were beautiful, valid, unmet needs underneath these unhealthy patterns. That was brand new news that was very important. The problem was I was still having a really hard time in the moment. We would have another argument and later I'd be thinking, that was the moment. I knew what I wanted to do in that moment, but I didn't do it. I just got defensive and I couldn't stop. That's when I started learning about my nervous system, and that was a game changer. This is the third tip that I wish I knew more about before we broke up. If I am in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which means I'm fighting back, I'm running away, I'm shutting down, or I'm people-pleasing to make it all go away, I don't have access to the perfect scripts or communication tools in that moment. We don't even have access to empathy when we're activated like that. Our brains can't think clearly because our bodies are treating the argument like it is life or death, and we need to stay safe. Once I really understood the impact that my nervous system state had on how I reacted, how I thought, all of the things, and started recognizing the cues that my body was giving me that I was starting to get activated, I then started to be able to catch myself before we were just like lost in the painful dance. Then I could pause, I could breathe, I could choose to respond in a healthy way instead of jump into those reactions. Awareness of the nervous system also helped me after arguments or hard moments. I would leave it a fight or an argument and repeat in my head over and over what was said. I would think about how mean he was. It got me nothing but more upset and more hurt. Instead, I started to learn to feel the feelings, that's so important, and then regulate my nervous system so that I could feel safe in my body again. That calm place helped me think clearly, get curious about what was underneath, help me see things in perspective, and then reapproach my partner using the new patterns I'd been working on. Over time, taking care of my nervous system regularly, even when things were good, meant that I could stay more regulated more easily when I did get triggered. And I heard this amazing analogy on a podcast, but I can't remember where it was, but they were talking about how firefighters practice fighting fires a billion times before the real thing. When the real fire happens, their bodies know how to regulate their breathing and how to respond to things by muscle memory. If they didn't practice at all, the real fire would overwhelm them. They wouldn't be prepared. It is the same with arguments, tense moments, times where you feel annoyed, hurt, get triggered in your relationship. If you don't practice calming techniques outside of triggered moments, it's really, really hard to drop into them and use them during the heat of the moment when you get activated. There is so much to be said about our sweet, sweet nervous system that is just trying to keep us safe. And that's why the third pillar of my love journey process is nervous system love. And there was one final piece of the puzzle that changed absolutely everything for me. It was the hugest catalyst for change. And it's the fourth tip that I wish I knew before we broke up. So even though I was showing up to therapy, I was learning on my own, I was doing the work, things still weren't shifting in the way that I had hoped for. I'd have like aha moments, I would see glimmers of hope and change from my partner, but then real life would hit and I'd fall right back into old patterns because they're so well worn, and it would happen on repeat. I would feel discouraged, and honestly, I was really wondering, like, can this actually get better? Can this get to the place that I would love for us to be, the place that we're at now? Then I joined a group coaching program with a relationship coach, and everything started to click. It was a whole new experience. I wasn't just gaining awareness, I was taking action in the right ways. I left every session with clear tools and steps so I knew exactly what to focus on to create change. Even though my partner said no to joining the program with me, our dynamic, even him, started changing so fast. Within the first week of the program, I started seeing his energy change because mine was. That's the dance. Every week I asked him to look at the modules with me. He said no, but I carried on with love because that's what my relationship coach encouraged me to do. By week 3, my partner asked to see the module because I had been showing up differently. For the first time ever, he sat with me and filled out a worksheet on his unhealthy patterns and how he shows up in conflict. This was a dream come true. So these days, he's all in on growth when I asked him because things have changed so much. So that's the fourth key. I call it your love line. It's your roadmap. It's support. It's clarity. Does that mean you have to work with a relationship coach directly? No, obviously, a great option. And there's other options too. Without some kind of roadmap and support, the first 3 tips can feel super overwhelming and impossible to keep up with. But with that roadmap, with that support, the changes you're trying to make finally start sticking, and you can see your husband or boyfriend start softening, appreciating you, showing up with love. When I look back, it is crystal clear. 1, looking at my role. 2, healing and changing my patterns. 3, giving my nervous system some love. And 4, getting structure and support. Each one was essential, absolutely necessary. If I had been missing even one of those things, I honestly think that we might not have made it. And I know that hearing those first 3 keys can feel like a lot. If I had known that that was the whole journey ahead of me, I would have been like, whoa, that sounds impossible. This is usually the moment where we hit a choice point. You can take all this in, you can feel overwhelmed and tell yourself it's too hard, too much, or not the right time, that it's never going to change, so why bother try? And I get that because I would have felt that way too. And you could also take a pause, a deep breath, and choose to see this as your turning point. It's not about doing all of those keys all at once. It's literally one little step at a time. That's exactly what I did. And we are right where, gosh, I never imagined we could be. So that's exactly why I created Relationship Recharge. So you don't have to figure it out on your own. You'll know exactly where to start, what to focus on, how to actually do it in your own relationship even if your partner isn't on board yet. So this self-paced program, it walks you through the first 3 keys that I shared today, step by step. That's my love journey process. I know that you'll see change. The link is in the description, or you can just pop the word recharge in the comments and I will send it your way. You've just learned about the 4 keys of the love journey process. You've seen how we went from constant fighting to a thriving relationship. And whether you're stuck in conflict or tension or just feeling really disconnected, like you're just roommates moving through life together, something needs to shift, and this is where it starts. One woman who did relationship recharge solo went from wanting a divorce to seeing fun and friendship in her relationship again and knowing that it was worth the work. These steps changed everything for me. It's why I'm a coach now, which is crazy to me. It's why I created the love journey process. It's my freaking joy to pass this on to you. You deserve the love, appreciation, the connection, oh my goodness, everything that you're craving in your relationship. You are incredible for still being here at the end here. The video on the screen is a deeper dive into your nervous system, but be sure to comment recharge before you head there, because this is how you get to dive into these 4 steps. I am sending you so much love into your day. Remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's make this a super intentional week. Bye.